Lo Silva. It's always fucking good to see you, man.
Always good.
Always good. It's sad through the last few years that we have had less opportunities to hang out.
Just last year. Just this year. We hung out like a motherfucker last year.
We did do a bunch of things during COVID anyway.
Yeah.
That's true.
We hang out a lot. This year has been a busy season for both of us, I think, and we've just hung out a little bit less.
It's true. So we met many years ago and connected immediately. And one of the things that was immediately interesting was sort of your path from initial launch of business and then relaunch of business. And so, and then I think beyond that, after you grew SVG, which was a marketing agency, which has since been rebranded, but when you grew that, I watched you take several clients from nothing, like 30, 40, 50 grand a month, which isn't nothing, but like...
It's a starter kit.
It's a starter kit, to $1 million a month or more. And I know this because we handle the payments.
Yeah.
Right? So in the marketing world, when somebody says, yada, yada, blah, 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 I'm important, usually the numbers don't back that up.
Right.
And my radar has been very sensitive. It's been sensitized to this over the years.
Well, you know everybody's secrets.
I know. And it puts me in a weird place because I obviously can't talk about them. Right. But I do internalize them. Yeah. And so when I see somebody actually walking the walk afterwards, I want to dig in. Right. So it's fun to see you do that. Can you give me a background on the initial launch? Like, where'd you come from?
Man, like it started with I've had one job in my life, like a job, like I was paid by someone else. And I was a sales guy at a boiler room. And the only reason I know it was a boiler room is because I watched the movie Boiler Room. And you're
like, this is me.
No, like, I walked in at like 17, 18, and I was in chair 31. And then by like 3 months, I was in chair number 2. And then I was in chair number 1. I didn't know. So how it works is like the chairs are numbered by like who gets the most calls and who gets the better stuff. So like it was me and this old ass lady named Ruth. She was like 80, beast. Until I took her out. You
didn't kill her, did you?
No, I just beat her. Okay. She was number 2. And so how that works is like, you get paid. I made friends with everyone in the office, and I got so good that I would leave at like 1 o'clock, and I was like, hey, I was a kid, right? So I'm gonna go get a keg. You guys come hang out, whatever. And like that was it, right?
Wait, what were you selling?
Timeshares.
Okay.
And vacation packages with Carnival Cruise. Right?
In Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so one day, this guy Lance, who's my manager, tells me, hey man, we're moving offices. And I'm like, all right, dope. Tells me where the new office is. I show up, a lot of new faces. I was like, oh man, like a lot of people quit. That's crazy. It's not that far. It's like 2 miles up. Like it's nuts. The second time, we stayed there for another year. The second time I showed up and to my normal office and no one was there. I was like, what happened? Like no one had any idea until some guys were like, oh, they moved. I was like, well, where'd they move? He's like, you're not supposed to know. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, so like in a boiler room, you do some stuff and you move office. You don't pay most of these people. You start over and you get a Ferrari, right? And like that's how that worked. I had no idea, dude. And so I was like, oh, what am I gonna do? I'm in college. The only classes I was good at in college were the only 3 classes I passed were math, psychology, and sociology. Everything else was like horrendous. And I was like, this isn't my thing. I tried to go to music production school. My dad didn't want to pay for it. I couldn't afford it. And so I was like, well, I'm going to try to hustle some stuff on the internet. And I tried to do some stuff on eBay with my buddy. His name was Johnzo.
That's not a real name.
His name's John, but we call him Johnzo.
What year was this?
Like 2006.
Okay.
Right. And so we start hustling Crown Victorias because he had a dealer's license and video projectors because I was like, hey, if we do this, it's like $480 that we can arbitrage. Like I knew what arbitrage was. So I was like, this would be pretty good. Like we should do higher end stuff. These other things are like, it's too much volume.
So you're buying cheap.
If we sell 2 video projectors in Focus 720s, if we sell 2 in Focus 720s, we make $480 twice. That's almost $900 a day, bro. And I mean, that was like, what? That's nuts. Yeah. And we started doing that from 2 to 4 to 6 a day. And then I was like, man, what else can we do that's expensive? And I stayed kind of like in the electronic realm. So I became a certified Bose distributor for Bose speakers, and they had minimum advertised price, MAP prices, all that.
Hold on, this is specifically so that you can so you can sell them online.
Right.
Got it.
That wasn't allowed, but I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm still going to do it because I'm 20. You know what I mean? So, so I did that on purpose, and then I was the largest Bose distributor besides Best Buy in like 6 months. I was ripping. Like Bose called me, like I was getting like, they were like, how are you doing this? And I was like, oh, I'm just, like got a lot of big local network. Like they didn't know, I was just ripping. And then from there I became a dealer at a company called Avid, which was a electronics distributor. And I just looked at like clips, like I just learned electronics because I was like, I'm in this mess, let's keep going. One day, I was spending my money frivolously as a kid at the bar, like being the coolest kid or whatever, right? Didn't make any like good decisions with that money, but I did have a lot of money, so I saved a fair amount. So one day, I guess the best way that I can describe it is there was an algorithm change in eBay, and I was not aware what that even meant, and so I was like, oh, I guess I can't do this anymore. Crap, what do I do? And so I went to basically like a Ralph's, or it was called Publix. And I grabbed magazines for Florida design, Florida architects. And I started calling architects, designers, and home builders high end. I was like, hey, I'm the largest Bose distributor in America, besides Best Buy. And I want to put a showroom in your place for free. All I ask is that you send me the deals that come from that. And I can come in weekly and sell and do presentations and whatever, right? Like high-end home builders and stuff. For 9 months, everyone said no. I had enough money to like get by. I was living with 2 other dudes and it was fine. One person said yes, 9 months later. And I put a 25,000 system in their place. That company was called Ethan Allen. They're in Altamont Springs, Florida. Not anymore now. But I did it. 1 month later, they're like, hey, we got a deal. Come and sell it. I sold a deal for some speakers, projector, the whole home automation, home electronics. I wasn't doing home automation yet. And it was $110,000. I got a check for 110 grand. I bought all the products, went and bought a car. Bought my first Mercedes, used, at a place. And then I went and found a house and I rented it for a year. And I was like, all right, now I'm done with the car. I'm done with the house. I got money for food. Let's just keep this going. Right? And I just kept going. And then that year I did the Grover Snore Hotel in Disney's, the Dolphin Hotel. Now I did the House of Blues. My stuff is still there. And we did $800,000. That was the closest I ever came. Well, back then, it was the closest I ever came to $1 million business. And then 2008 hit. And I had deals with contractors. How electronic integration and home automation works is if you're a home custom luxury builder, I do a deal with you. So I am your home automation guy. I pre-wire the homes, 5,000, 6,000 square foot homes, about $75,000 in pre-wires for electronics, videos, automation, Lutron, all that kind of stuff. And I had 8 of those. And I was like, babe, I had just got married. I was like, babe, we're going to print next year. It's nothing. And the economy hit and they went bankrupt. They didn't pay me anything. So I lost all that money.
Who went bankrupt?
Arthur, a big construction company in Orlando.
Oh, so okay. So these were you were getting leads from construction company.
Yeah, I had an agreement with them. I was their main guy.
You had the showroom.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so they were like, we're not going to pay you. We're not selling these homes. And I was like, what are you going to do? We're going to go bankrupt. So they bankrupted. And I was still new. So I got nothing. And I went from a 3-story townhouse in Fort Lauderdale to asking my mother-in-law for $5,000.
Whew. And so what, you're 26, 27, 28, something like that?
I was 26. And then the first year, my wife had 3 jobs. We used that $5K for first last deposit and like a holding, like, first last end deposit is what it was. The first year, I made about 40 grand. That wasn't covering much. I mean, we were barely eating, and we were in credit card debt because we got into it. Laura got in credit card debt. The second year, I made like 80. And then the third year, I made like 135.
I'm sorry, I missed a step here.
So what I started doing
what was the transition?
I bought a program called Let's Get Social by Kate Buck.
No.
Swear to God.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
wild.
Yeah.
So so Kate Buck was
good friend now.
Yeah. So okay, it's September 26, 2022. We are sitting in a hotel room outside of Traffic and Conversion Summit.
Yeah.
And I went to the first Traffic and Conversion Summit in 2010 in Austin. And shortly thereafter, Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher decided that they wanted to publish other people's content as if they were a book publisher, but they wanted to do it on the internet. This is like their concept. They're like, hey, we're going to take the book publishing world, push it into the internet world. And the first person they did it with was Kate Buck.
I was the third.
Oh, you were the third.
Third or fourth, yeah.
Oh, crazy.
So listen to this.
Okay, so this is how I know Kate Buck. So you bought Kate Buck's course.
I bought it and I was like, it's okay because it's teaching you a few things, but it taught you sales. I was like, I can smoke this on sales. And so I went in LinkedIn instead. And then I started.
And what was her course?
Just how to become a social media manager.
Okay,
so I got the understanding, but.
And this is early.
Yeah, I think it's
11, 12?
Course. Yeah.
Okay. So 11, 12.
It was 2009.
No.
Or 10.
Really?
Yeah, it was 9 or 10. Because it was just like fast
right
for
after.
me. Right. And because 8 is when like I was like, oh, my life's over. And I tried to like get jobs. I couldn't get normal people jobs and stuff because I didn't have a job. I started my own business. I couldn't even get a job at the Cheesecake Factory because I tried. And so I told my wife, I was like, you should either divorce me because this is very early in our relationship. You're beautiful and you have a degree, and I'll sleep in people's couches. I can figure this out, but like I don't want to make your life suck. And she's like, shut the fuck up. Like just figure it out. And I was like, okay. And so I kind of did. And so I bought the course and I was like, I could do better. So I started getting into that, bought other courses, learned media buying. And I started going on LinkedIn and telling people that I bought media, right? And I didn't, but what I started buying was display ads. And then I started getting good with like what runs where and like different networks. And I started learning how to do that. And then Udemy came out.
Can you define the difference for me there? Buying media versus buying display ads?
So this display ads is more like, it's like really scalable, right? Like now most people they do a little bit of like network, but like display ads is like Taboola. It's really kind of like native advertising, right? And most people buy like network, like Facebook, Instagram, the red ones, which is like YouTube, Google.
So you're defining display ads as something that's like broadcasted across the internet, like image broadcast across the internet.
Yeah. So like if you go to like mommydearestblog.com and you see those little things, those are display ads, right? And so I was buying those for people that I was finding on LinkedIn. And Udemy came out and I was like, man, and all these courses on WSO Warrior Forum were coming out, which was a network back in the day. And I was like, man, I bet you I can come up with something. Not for them yet because I didn't have an audience. So I put it on Udemy. And one night at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, I see ching, someone buys it. I was making like $1,000, right? A month on that.
Which is exciting.
Yeah. And then Ryan Dice buys it.
Oh, no shit.
And I was like, oh shit. That night I sent him an email and I was like, hey, Ryan, this is Silva, blah, blah, blah. You should publish this course. He goes, okay, yeah, talk to this guy, Jonathan J. Cron.
Jonathan Kronstadt, president and CEO of Kajabi, raised $550 million, which now puts Kajabi at a value over $2 billion.
Me and J. Cron, like super close. Like,
whoa.
Yeah, so I go down to Traffic, I meet them. I meet Perry for the first time. He's like, hey, bud, heard we just did this. You know, he's like, cool. Like, writes, changes everything and calls the course the whale method. I got published. It was 10%, right? So I got 10% of whatever they made.
Yeah.
To me, I was like,
they were smart
to change.
Yeah.
Right. It made a fair amount of money. I made a good amount of money for that time. Right. And that got me into War Room. That got me into making a lot of friends. And that got me into the second thing. I started an agency in the meantime doing ads and displays and stuff. Because I was
still
milking
like,
it.
Hold on,
We're
this is still
2011 now.
Jeez, man. This is real. And so just, I mean, frame of reference, like 2006, 5, 6, Facebook starts. 7, MySpace is still around. 7, 8, still there. So like Facebook isn't really there.
I didn't even use it.
At some point, Google buys YouTube. So that's not even there. I think that's 08, right? And you can fact check me on this, but then like 9, 10, like we're barely into e-com. We're not into functional information marketing, right? So this is
all network like
very early days.
JVZoo, WSOs, and all that.
So there are like dedicated platforms. These are dedicated platforms
that sell that one thing.
That just sell information.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he changes it to the whale method. We become friends. It does well. He calls me. I'm driving at the gas station one day. I remember where I was. And he's like, hey, man, we're starting a company called Startup Jungle and we need a CEO. and it's between you and this other dude's name is Nick Unsworth. And I was like, I know Nick. And he's like, I think it's you. So we're going to pay you X amount, whatever, and you're going to run this company and publish more people and start a podcast. And so I did that. And so from that on out, I did that as my hustle for a few years. And I started a podcast. I was smart about it because everyone I did a podcast with was venture backed, like a startup, like a venture VC backed. That's when like 500 startups and Y Combinator were coming up. And I was talking to all the founders because it was easy.
What was the name of the podcast?
Startup Jungle.
Got it. The podcast in 2012.
Yeah.
11.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And I was doing consulting with these companies for media buying and stuff on the side because I wasn't getting paid a lot. Like basically I had a budget. I don't know if you want to put this whole thing in there, but I had a budget and that budget included my salary and whatever else I needed to do.
So that's actually pretty smart. So,
not for them.
Well, what was it?
It was 10 G's.
Okay, so so let's talk about that for a second. So the idea, basically the idea was, here's all of the money, you go play entrepreneur, and you do whatever you think you can do with it. Make it work. Yeah, and either you can keep the money, or you can invest the money in the business. Yeah, that's how I saw it.
And you get our worst list.
Well, right. And then it's on the person to do it. Yeah. And so not great for you. I saw that as great for the company. It was, if they picked the right person.
It was rough to do because the list didn't convert very well. I didn't have budget to build a list. And so I was like, man, I want to do well by these guys because I want a relationship. Right. So I was like, I gotta find another way to make cheese. And so I started consulting venture-backed startups, which was good because it got me another level of reputation, which started getting me more clients privately for like what I built as an agency, right? It's kind of like pseudo agency because it was a lot of just me, more not a lot of other people. And so as time goes by, I started getting involved in the network that we live in, right? It was like, I was still new. So I was very like, oh, like a lot of these, WSO Warrior Forum Network people are like, hey, you and I will collab on this and this, and we'll make an offer. Boom, boom, boom. Right. And so I was like, okay, this is like the model that these guys have. And so I connected with a few people and started making some offers. I made one that was a tool that ended up getting me banned from Facebook. That was called Data Reach. That was basically custom audiences. And so I don't have a Facebook. That's why you can't find me.
Is that true? You don't have a Facebook currently?
No.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You know that.
You do have an Instagram account.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's Los Hustle. It's not Los Silva for a reason. And so basically I start messing around with one dude and we start doing more and more projects. And as that starts to happen, that lasted like a couple of years. What happened was that I started running everything and we were doing pretty good, better than I had ever done financially. And so I had an office in Orlando. I had a team. We were doing a lot of publishing of our own brands, like teaching what we were doing on e-com in that time. I just kind of like took the lead. I was like, oh, we can do this. And I had the relationship of friends. Like he was like the tinkerer and he knew how to like get a good sales page. And I was like, all right, I'll run the ads. I'll connect with the sales, with the affiliates and all that. And like, we'll get some shit launched. Right. And so we start doing well. And we start also doing our own e-commerce stuff, which also starts doing well, right? And so we're creating things and speaking about what we have going on, right? Fast forward a little while.
Hold on, gotta ask questions.
Yeah.
What year is this? We're like accelerating through
life. We're starting from 2008.
Yes, right. So like but
you got to remember, I don't remember every year that happened from 2008 to 2022.
I got it. But like we're somewhere in what, 13, 14? And then
we're probably 14.
Okay. So now we're 14, which is very different than 10. Mm-hmm. And we're at this place now where you're selling information and you're somehow into e-com. What are you selling in e-com?
We were just drop shipping.
How are you drop shipping in 14? Because like drop shipping in 14 was very different than today. Like
I was drop shipping in 2006.
But today, you have US-based fulfillment centers.
You had it before. You had to become a distributor of something, or there was
it wasn't easy.
It it was manageable. Also, we were also buying, right? Like, so we built a company called Ape Tape, which was a kinesiology tape, and we launched that. We built another one called True Gunner, which was for the gun niche as well, and that one did well. I did one, and then I listening to like Roland stuff because I was in that mix. I started the National Fishing Association, and we had like
got it. Well, let me just give full context here because for everybody else,
we were testing a lot of things.
But you're like, you immediately know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. But for anybody that doesn't, drop shipping, the notion is like you can sell a product and somebody's going to warehouse
and not hold
it
the inventory.
And not hold the inventory. Somebody's going to hold all the products for you, and as soon as you sell it, your shopping cart sends a message, an API call message to that warehouse and says, hey, send this thing. And then there's a back and forth because there's got to be like, shipping updates, and like you want the integration with UPS or FedEx or whatever to show like, hey,
that's how it is now.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Before it was more with like distributors. You would
that's
become
exactly
a distributor of something.
That's what I want to explain this, right?
Yeah.
Because today you have US-based companies.
You even have apps that just like touch it,
that do
like
the whole thing.
Yeah.
And in between,
we didn't have any of that.
Right. That's why I'm highlighting this.
Yeah.
Because in between this moment today, where like you just plug into a company that ships everything, tracks everything, you can do the email integrations, the whole thing.
Oftentimes we even had to buy minimums.
And back then, exactly. Back then, you were functionally like buying from a wholesaler.
Yes.
And they had a whole bunch of product.
Alibaba did not exist.
Alibaba did not exist. And so you had to actually buy products, keep it with somebody, have like a distributor status for them to ship it for you.
Right.
Got it. So this is a very different business model.
Yeah.
Like
it was pseudo drop shipping because in some capacities, there was some warehouses in Orlando that I'd have to go get them from. Some stuff was sent to my home, and some stuff we'd have to buy minimums and keep in where he lived, which was big, Reno, Nevada.
Yeah, right. That sounds slightly more difficult than just like calling.
It was a lot more difficult.
Calling a company and wherever and having them ship it for you.
Yeah, yeah. And so we were creating content and also making money from that. And so what happened is like we kind of became like, I'll do the digital side, you do the e-commerce side, right? But what happened later was that he was just starting to build his own brands. And one day he calls me. We were at Traffic and Conversion. I don't remember what year. But we're here, and we both were kind of like feeling like, I was feeling the intention of like, hey man, it seems like we're doing two different things now. Totally cool. That's two divisions. You keep one, I keep the other. We had also started a mastermind called Black Label. And we had about 80 people. It was the first one I ever built. A lot, I mean, transparently, I think you would back me up on this. 89 to 90% of those people were there because of me, because I'm the relationship guy.
Sure.
Right? And so
people are buying the face.
Yeah. I was like, hey, and the relationship. I'm the guy that like, and so I was like, dude, I think we should just split things. And he was like, split things? No, this is all me. I'm going to keep it. And at that point, we were doing so well that we had also been invited by ClickBank to help consult them and help create a back end for ClickBank University, which I did all the webinars for. So probably 2017 or 16 maybe, I was doing 3 webinars a day, managing the ClickBank list.
Good God.
It was exhausting.
Yeah.
And cleaning the list, managing the list. My team we were doing all that. And so, which gave me great understanding of like, I ended up doing everything, right? Like I learned all the facets of like what these businesses really do. And so, when that happened, he was like, no, I think this is just it. You can keep the ClickBank thing. I'll keep everything else. And I was like, I looked at it a long time ago when I was a kid. I had a girl spray paint my house, and I was like, she was a disgruntled ex, and I was like, this is kind of a disgruntled ex. I'm just gonna keep this as is, and I'm just gonna beat you. So you keep it, and I'll take less, and I'll just go win. And that was my mindset. And I was like, you know what, you're right, dude. And we kept it as that. We did one more event in Denver. It was an awkward event. But after that, we kind of parted, went our separate ways. And I was kind of down and out. I was doing pretty good. I had to close down my office. I cried to the team. I was like, I don't got a job for you guys. I don't even know what I want to do right now. And the next day, they're showing, like 2 guys showed up in my house. They're like, we can go upstairs and just figure it out with their computers, like literally computers.
These are people from your team that you have told you
Rosen
can't pay.
and Malby.
Oh boy.
And they're like, Wawa Coffee, and they're like, we can go upstairs, bro. And I was like, I don't know what we're gonna do. And they're like, and neither do we. Let's just go upstairs. For like 3 months, they come up. I'm down and out, and I know I need a partner just for like the pick me up. Like I just need a buddy right now. You know, I made friends with the dude. I'm just gonna work with this dude. He wants to get out of ClickBank. We start another business. And I'm like, we should just do an agency. It's easy. I speak at Ryan Moran invites me to speak at one of his events. I go, I speak on e-commerce.
Is this
it wasn't capitalism yet. It was
precapitalism.com?
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, capitalism became a client of mine after that. And then I did about $1 million in business, annualized, not immediately, in 3 months. Right. So we went boom, boom. I was like, all right, I'm getting my mojo back. I'm feeling good. Everything's good. I'm still insecure. So I was like, man, you know, this other dude had like a very good pedigree of like business and school. Now I always used to have this, like, I didn't, you know, finish school, whatever. I'm kind of.
But you're a hustler.
Yeah.
That's your gig.
He was like, you know, I did this and this. I think I should run the business.
Right.
Like, yeah, I think you should. Let's do it. The next month's our worst month. The next month's our second worst month. And he's like, we got to make some cuts. And he's like, I need you to cut these 2 guys. And those are the guys that worked for me for free. And I was like, I can't do it.
Got it. So you brought somebody on that you wanted as a partner because you thought that he had more pedigree and history to be able to have like a quote unquote real business.
Right.
And then the people that had worked for free for 3 months bring you through a dark time. The first thing he said was,
they gotta go.
hey, we got to get rid of these guys.
I was like, no, I can pay for them out of pocket if you want. Like, they're not going anywhere. He's like, they got to go. I was like, why don't we do this? Give it back to me for 1 month. For 1 month. And we'll see what happens. You know, that month we did better. And then I had a guy that I met in just events and stuff. He was an influencer, and he's like, I don't have a lot of money to pay you. You guys are charging $12,000, $15,000 a month. I can't do that. I'll give you 50% of my business. I was like, you don't have a business, bro. But whatever, we'll try it. We tried it. It didn't do well. And then he hits me. He's like, well, I got this other thing that I did. It's called this keto diet thing. I was like, all right, let's try it. We did $1 million after that. And then we did more and more. And I was like, okay, this is working. I ended up running the business from like, hey, give me 1 more month to about another 9, right? To another like 14. But we went from where we were to 3 million the first year to 11 million the second year to almost 14 million the third year, right? And so now that 3 more years passed, we're in like the 6 years ago. We were probably like 2018, right? And then these guys, it ended up being 2 other business partners, and they were like, hey, you know, we should do other things. We don't have to do everything together. At first, we're like, we need to do everything together. And then they had some extra time. I was like, okay. I had an office here. I rented an office next door, hired new people, started a different agency. Because at this point, this was a publishing company. Now it wasn't an agency. We published people for a percentage of revenue. And so I started an agency for revenue with new people. Hit a 7-figure run rate in 2 months.
I want to clarify that real quick. So when you reference a publishing company, this, by the way, took me years to actually like internalize like the functional difference here. Yeah.
So as an agency, well, it's really a business model choice of how you want to get paid. An agency oftentimes, says, hey, pay me money, I will do work for you.
Right.
What we were saying is, don't pay me or cover a minimum, and we will split the rest off all of our work.
Right. And the difference, the fundamental difference is incentive.
Yeah.
Right. So I, for a long time, have said agencies are largely garbage because they take your money with no real responsibility to the outcome. And if you want real good marketers, they're selling their own shit. And the only intermediate are people that functionally are publishers. The only intermediate are people that are paid for performance, where they're like, yeah, I'll bring you on as a client. I'm going to charge you a flat rate and I'm taking part of the lift. part of the upside.
And we still do that. We charge people what I call like a base human capital price. Like I have to pay people, and I'm gonna charge you like almost the minimum of what it costs to just pay those bills, and then the rest is upside. And I want a significant amount of that upside. And they're not 1 month contracts. They're minimum 3 to 6 with afterwards. If after we do 6 months, we're moving into 12 with buyouts. Right.
Because you need commitment that you have time to actually make the marketing work.
You're taking nothing on to do well for a few people, but that should be all you need. You don't need to take 25, 50 people. I don't want to have ever an agency of like 200 clients and stuff, because like you said, like it's a revolving door. Right. And so we started that agency, which was just pay us money in that regard, so it wouldn't compete with this other opportunity. And they ended up wanting me to, I wanted them to buy me out, because it was like, it's 2 against 1. Like you guys can run this. I'll just start over here and get bought out. And they're like, no, you buy us out. And so I end up buying them out.
This is round 2. Okay. So now this is the second group of partners, right? And you have kind of the same thing happen.
Yeah. Like I was operating the business and they were like, like you're doing that and you're doing more and you're not giving us. I'm like, you guys have chances to do other things also. You're just not. Like I'm executing, So I was like, all right, I'll buy you out. I bought them out for 7 figures ish, undisclosed amount, but in the 7 figures. And I was like, all right, you guys do your thing. I'm going to do mine. And then I just kept doing my thing,
And so right around then, you meet me at a baby bathwater event, actually. And
in Utah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but basically from then on, after you met me, your whole life has been amazing. Yeah.
That is right. That is exactly what happened. And so.
But that's actually true, but not because of me.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that I was look, we are cut from the same cloth, right? We have we share a bloodline or some shit in the past, right? But so immediately when we're talking, we connect. But one of the things that drew me to you was hearing parts of that story, and you used language earlier to the effect of, I could get mad about this situation and fight for it, or I could just show you that I can beat you anyway.
And I did.
And you did. And we met shortly after you had gone down that path, and hearing that part of the story was like, for me, I thought, man, this is the way to think, right? This is the approach.
Yeah. And I still, I weirdly, I'm not religious, but I'm like spiritual. I believe that like holding hate in your heart and all that gives you cancer. And like, I'm not going to go to sleep with thinking about you. I'm going to go to sleep thinking about my kids and my wife. Right. And so if I go to sleep about you, like you're ingrained in my being that much, I can't do a good job because I'm always just thinking about you. So how about I just let go and just do a good job? Because you don't pay my bills either. Now you don't pay my bills. I'm not a part of your bills. So let's just move forward like grownups, And so I did that. And I started, I took that agency I grew that agency, and from there on, I just kept building additions to that agency. I separated all of the agencies when it started becoming that one agency when it started becoming a lot, and I started to see that I was building an HR company. And I called a very good friend of mine, Neil Patel, and Neil was like, "This is what I would have done different from the big ass agency that I own." And what he said is like, I'd split them into silos. So like if you're doing media buying for personal brands, that's one thing. If you're doing content distribution, that's another. If you're doing X, Y, like just make them factories, like processes specialized in 1 or 2 unique things for 1 or 2 particular markets. And so I broke things down, and instead of 1, I built 3. And that's what I have today.
That was the beginning of this era, which is a whole new era. Okay, so when I meet you, you start referring clients to us. We watch you grow these brands. And more accurately, we watch you grow offers to get a specific offering from very little to $1 million a month or more in a couple cases. And this was through the agency, through SVG.
Yeah.
So before we go into like where you went from there, can you talk to me, because I know that your opinion on this has changed, but can you talk to me about like your first two eras of life, sort of, you're making money and then you had a couple collapses in there. Today, you seem to lean brand heavy, but
Yeah.
in those eras, you're propping somebody up with ads.
I was very direct response, still am.
Mhm.
You know, as far as spend, we've spent like 400 million on ads total with myself and all of the team members, right? So we know how to buy media. The thing that I've noticed more recently than ever, probably a year and a half to 2 years, it's become my thing that I believe in. Not my thing, but like I'm very focused on becoming very good at this, is that brand matters more. Right? Because no one cares. You don't get business cards on a personal brand level. You don't run around giving business cards, right? You're getting, what's his Insta? What's the, Google him. Like, does he have a YouTube? Like, so you're getting searched through different manners and modalities. Yeah. And so if you don't have that, you're not valid. You could, I mean, sure, you could be like, well, he's a beast. Like, it's actually harder. Like, but if you could be a fake and have all these things, and you will make more money than the real guy. Right. And so I started paying attention to that.
Well, okay. So we jumped a line here because you're talking personal brand.
Well, I can also go with e-commerce. Just specifically on the personal brand, you still need to build a brand. On e-commerce, offers mattered, right? You can take one with a decent average order value and get a decent CPA, which is a cost per acquisition. And then back in the day, you were getting good multiples, a 2-3x on that. Now you have to have a very high average order value. So you have to have a lot of products and you have to work on the lifetime value, right? And you can't do that unless you have brand, loyalty, community, content, and create conversations with your audience. And that's not direct response anymore.
Right. So that is the power of brand.
Yeah.
Is the capacity to leverage more than one interaction, right? Is that somebody has bought into this thing, so they're likely to come back and buy again.
It takes more touches now than it ever has, right? And so now if you're building a personal brand, you need a community, a Facebook group, an email list, a community app, which is a text message platform, to have conversations, Discord. That's why people get all the NFTs, right? You need it. Because you're extending the sales cycle. They got to know, like, and trust you. It's the same thing with e-commerce. It's the same thing with creating content and videos for e-commerce. That's why people pay for influencers, for more brand connection and recognition and association. And so things have just changed, right? Does direct response work? Yes, 100%. And for people that don't know what that is basically like, I put $10 out on Facebook, and I at least want to get $10. Like, if I'm a beginner, I want to get $12 out. If I'm really good, I'm willing to lose $8 for my lifetime value, but it's because I'm building brand. I have other products, recurring, etc. Right?
Yeah, and fundamentally, that term direct response is somebody responds directly to an ad and buys, right?
Because you're spending money on that specific interaction.
Yeah, and you can, well, even if you aren't, right? Even if it was like a direct response would be, hey, I have one ad that I'm sending out, and you probably have ad costs behind it, but I have something I'm pushing out.
Yeah.
And somebody responds directly, and the goal of it is to get them to take action immediately on that thing.
So you can quantify that.
You got it. Yeah, exactly. So you had all these, like a series of clients that you had where you built up an offer, and they went up big, many of them down afterwards.
Yeah.
And at some point after doing this, you then expanded sort of your world, your perception, what you were doing. So you had the ad agency that was, launching brands that were doing 8 figures plus a year.
Yeah.
And then the next chapter for you was what?
I still had the agency, and I connected with one of the guys that's one of my best friends now. His name's Josh. He owns a company called Snow Teeth Whitening, and he and I were talking a lot. And he comes to me and he's like, "Hey, I got this idea of something that I was offered by another group about, like, building an offer." And I said, "No. What if we did it and we turned it into kind of like a consulting group or a mastermind, and we did so much more with it?" He was like, "I like it. I like where that can go. Let's try it." And we started a company called Powerhouse Brands, which it's changed a little bit. It started basically as an e-commerce only mastermind to help you scale your business if you're already doing $1 million a year. We would help you double, triple, quadruple that business with the intent to sell it. We didn't know who or how, but we had the connections. Later on, we ended up buying a business brokerage, and now Powerhouse can help you facilitate that sale with our brokerage. The name of that brokerage is Deal Flow Brokerage. And so Powerhouse also started accepting more people in the entrepreneur space, like in the internet entrepreneur space, like coaches, consultants, service businesses, and direct consumer e-commerce companies, to help you optimize your business for you to sell it.
What do you think changed in your approach to marketing when you went from having the agency where you had, hey, and it was pay for performance. You were bringing people on and saying, hey, as we grow this, we want more. But what changed in your approach to marketing when you thought, hey, I'm going to do this from build the offer to I need to shift into the brand mentality?
Longevity. An offer is not longevity.
And how did your approach change to try to hit that?
When I think of anything now, I think of the end in mind. When you think about an offer, you think about making money from the offer from the jump. And that's how people think. All right, we got this thing with this offer. This is about the average order value we can pull out of this thing. This is it. Let's grow it. Right now, it's like, hey, we've got this brand we want to do. Do we want to sell it? Do we want to keep it and put team members on it that can manage it? What needs to happen? Who is the ideal avatar? What are we going to sell? How are we going to serve it? How are we going to serve them? How long is this time horizon that we're expecting to do? What is a capital we want to outlay to create something like this? What are we willing to lose or to learn? And how fast do we want to do it? It's a lot more pieces that go involved. It takes a lot longer to launch something now, but when it launches, it's you've got a whole thing now. Rather, the problem with launching an offer is you can rapidly iterate. Boom, boom, boom. It's fast. But just as fast as it can grow, it can go down. Mm-hmm. Because now you're in a ship that's like scaling and you don't know what to do next. There's so many options. Like you don't know what they want. Like you don't have a mission, vision, values. You just made something out of nothing and it's gone well. So what are you going to do next? Well, I don't know. Who are you going to hire? What do you need for hiring? And so now we really focus on brands, because also no one buys offers. People buy brands. As far as like purchasing, no one cares about the EBITDA of your funnel. They care about the EBITDA of your business.
So from a business perspective, you went from running the agency to launching Powerhouse. And what I heard was sort of, it wasn't totally intentional, but Powerhouse turned into an opportunity to then buy other companies, both internally in the Powerhouse community and also externally.
Yeah.
How has your approach to business in general changed, where you went from running the agency to the idea of acquisitions?
So I'm blessed that like my business partner now is my best friend, and like he's a huge thinker. I'm a good operator. And so it's very, very good sync for that. Right. And so he thinks like I have a chess piece here, but like he has a whole chess thing. Right. He actually doesn't, but you know what I mean? Like he already thinks way more than the end in mind. He already sold that thing before it starts. Right. And so I think of things in a much slower approach. And both him and I have, as we get older, we've really thought about, this industry is all about money. It really is. And that's okay.
What industry?
The internet marketing world that we live in. It's financial, right? Like, what are you making? What are you doing? Money, money, money. And more than ever, my dad, I guess I'll backtrack a little. A couple of years ago, my dad killed himself. Right. And my dad was an entrepreneur. He was always trying to keep up with the Joneses. I don't think he was a good entrepreneur. He was going up and down in revenue. Like I almost feel like he'd get a lick in his business and spend it, and then nothing, and then boom, nothing. And so that kind of, when he killed himself because he didn't have money. And it made me realize, man, money's what he valued first. I have 2 girls. I have a lot of amazing friends that like a level of friendship that I have with friends like you that most people can't dream of. I don't have my high school buddies. I have like real family level friends, and my family is amazing, and I'm a great dad and I'm a good husband. I don't cheat. I don't do any of the stuff that you know, a lot of people do because they have empty lives, right? And I looked at that thing with my dad, and instead of like crying about it, I was like, how can I be why did he kill himself? He killed himself because he was empty. Like he wasn't there for me. He wasn't there for my sisters. He lied to my mom about how they were doing. And I don't want to lie to, you know, I don't want to not be there for my kids. I don't want to lie to my kids. I don't want to lie to my wife. I don't want to lie to you. I want to spend more time with people I love and create memories. Money to me accelerates time to have with people you love so you can create memories, because that's what you don't die with your net worth. Your kids do or someone else does, but you don't, right? And so I started talking to him about it, and he had some similar stuff like that happen in his life, and we made the decision, like, you know, we want to build things that make us happy, and we build businesses from that point first. Build businesses that we want to operate for a while and then get the right team or sell it. So everything has to be either sellable now or managed by someone that can actually manage it, which is going to become expensive, and we can talk about that later. With the intent of getting us to spend more time, or me or him to be able to spend more time with other people that we love, right? And so I don't miss my daughter's cheer. I'm learning piano with my other daughter. I don't work on Wednesdays anymore. I just hang out with my wife. And you know, that is kind of how I look at business. First, I don't look at business from the lens of like, what do you think you're going to make this year? Like, I think I'm going to work less than you and I'll be fine. But second, I want to make more money, which, you know, is different. It's the season I'm in my life. Like I've got money, I've got things. Like I just want to focus on like things that make me fulfilled, because money will not fulfill me. And I don't mean it like, oh, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, listen, money makes everyone happy and it accelerates things, but it will not bring more money in my bank account to really, frankly, I started like last year, we did really well. And I spent a lot of money on like investments. And I realized like, man, I'm just trying to make a lot of money so I can give it away to other people at this point. So, which is great, but like, it's more like an investor season of that time of life rather than, and I want to keep doing that because I obviously know that is what grows your net worth and your opportunity for passive income and stuff like that. But I'm also willing to take an L, so to speak, on not making so much more, because I don't want to work till 8 o'clock every night. I want to be with my kids. I want to be a dope ass dad. I want to make steaks for my daughter. Like I want to learn piano with her. Like I want to take her to Halloween Horror Nights on Thursdays. And I'm willing to sacrifice not making as much in certain aspects to do that, because I think that is something that very, very few people that I know are willing to do. And they have broken homes. They have wives they don't give a shit about. They have kids. They're like, oh yeah, she plays golf. She plays this. Like, you go? Yeah, sometimes. Like, I don't miss these things, you know?
Do you think about that stuff when you're does that come into play when you're looking at what businesses you want to buy? Because I know that you're in
more recent than ever, yeah.
Acquisition mode.
Yeah, Josh and I are looking at buying a business. We can't talk a lot about it because we're in the middle of due diligence, but the requisites of it were, it has to be something that is already producing, 7 figures in EBITDA with good recurring already, that we can put that maybe keep the management team and accelerate with what our skill sets, but is already moving in a direction where like the next day we're getting a check. The next month we would be getting a check because it's already producing. We don't got to walk in and be like, well, what would it look like to completely change this? Instead, what would it look like to add a few things and double and triple it, you know? So that's what we want to buy. And that's what, we want to work on. We looked at the brokerage. We're like, what would it look like to put real management here and change it? When we bought the brokerage, it was doing $300,000 to $500,000 EBITDA businesses. We changed it to 1 million to 10 million, and that's the only people we accept. So we tripled, doubled at its max. Well, actually, like 20x it if you go all the way to 10 million EBITDA. And that was it was almost restarting a business. But we're like, if we do that business, if you go too much high on the EBITDA, you're on lawyers, you're talking 6 month, a year long deals. We don't have that kind of capability. That's not our strength. That's not our group, our audience. Like we can do the 1 to 10s. We know that we can create them even, you know, and we've started doing that. And so that's the approach that we took with the brokerage. That's the approach that we're taking on the new businesses that we're buying. That's the approach we're taking with Powerhouse on the people that we want to work with. You know, we want to work with people that we can help. And we want to teach even this model. You know, a lot of people in our group are married and things. And a lot of them are like, oh, like I just listed a business for a buddy that's in the group for sale. And we were talking at the last event that I had, and I was like, what do you want to sell this for? He's like, nah, like 12. I was like, okay, I think you can get 7. He's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna wait for 12. I was like, let me ask you a question. Let's just get naked for a second.
Yep.
What do you make a year? And he told me. And I was like, what if I can give you 20x that? I can do that. I'm already helping you work on your other business. What if we just do that and you can do it again? And when you shift that framework for people, they're like, oh shit. Because I had I had a business that I was running that I negotiated 10% for the sale that we didn't sell. We took them from $300,000 a year to $4 million a month. They ended up doing $31 million in the last year that we worked with them. And I was like, it's time to sell. They're like, no, you don't get it. This is a $100 million business. I was like, this is not a $32 million business. Like
we're at the end.
We should do this. And they left us. They came back. They came back when they were doing $300,000 again. And now they're doing $1 million a month. And it's a garbage. Like it's not now, no one's going to buy it the same, whatever. Right. And I've seen that with a lot of people. I'm like, listen, like you got to let your businesses, especially e-commerce businesses, are a binary concept. Like you build this thing to sell it. It's your savings account. You're not going to ball out on an e-com business. You're looking at like 15, 20% margins if you're a gangster, right? You're not getting 40% margins. If you are, you're a complete liar. Like I've worked with over 150 e-com businesses. You're not pulling that. And if you do, you're doing it for a little, or you're doing it like at a small clip. At scale, you're not doing that.
Do you think that that's, so I want to challenge that, because I think that it seems like if you're an ad driven business, that's true. But I also think that if you manage to get some like real momentum and virality with something, there are e-com companies that like do the right social push and get community behind them. So like we know the Dollar Beard Club guys that had like one viral video. And of course they didn't know how to run a business, and both of them will say that. but they certainly had more than a 15% margin. It just didn't last.
Right. Yeah.
But neither do the ad-driven companies at 15%.
Right. That's my point. It keeps like, and then you're adding new SKUs, and then you're doing so well. Like I have a business that we're helping that was doing 40,000 a month, and now they're doing 400,000 a month. And this guy makes $50,000 a year, and he's looking for loans. Right. Because he just needs more SKUs.
Right.
So that's the problem, right? If you're doing $400,000 a month on your service-based or consulting company, you're probably pulling 40% margins. Like maybe 30, but not 20. Certainly not. If you are, you're an idiot. Right. Like you're probably pulling some might be pulling 50. Yeah, and totally. That's not crazy. Yeah. Right? You're not going to do that in e-commerce at scale. No. You can do $1 million a month on that kind of a business and pull 40, 50% margins if you're tight.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't do $1 million a month and do 40, 50% margins on the other business. You're crazy.
Particularly because ads are one of your highest line items.
SKUs, products, fulfillment,
actual
shipping.
Product. Yeah, fair.
Yeah, fair. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I got a couple lessons out of this. One is, and this is kind of a recurring lesson in my life, sure, but I think for people in general, if you are looking at acquisitions, and even if you're not, if you're thinking about how well your business performs, all of the shit that you hear other people say, you got to look under the hood.
Right.
You got to look under the hood. Because when people tell you numbers,
they're top line.
Right?
They're top line.
They're talking about sales, and it's super normal to have high sales companies that have no margin.
And watch out too for a lot of digital marketers that are like, we did $1 million last month, Annualized, not collected.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, because you did $320,000 collected.
It's a big stretch.
So you did 320 grand, bro. So say 320.
Yeah.
You like on our events, when we do events, how we talk in the office, we're like, hey, we did $225,000 collected. We did 700 annualized. We will get the rest because we don't get refunds. It's a year-long contract. We will get that money. But what we made for that month on that P&L is going to show that that little thing we did was 225 or 300. It's not going to show the 700 extra.
Okay, so most recently, Powerhouse has been sort of the foundation of the other things. Talk to me about how you launched Powerhouse and what the funnel is to get people into Powerhouse and the foundation of all that. Because it really is the feeder for everything else today for you, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the way we launched it, it's very different than what we're doing today, and I'll explain both in detail. The way we launched it was I flew out to Arizona and we shot a video sales letter for myself and Josh. And it's 7 minutes. It talks who it's for, who it's not for, what we do, and what the requirements are for you to apply, and then we make you apply. And we ran that funnel as a high ticket funnel, which means that it's a video sales letter with a little bit of copy down there. And it gets you to an application. The application makes you fill a form. We use Go High Level for everything. So it's a full, it has everything inside it. You don't need jot forms. You don't need a Calendly app. It has everything inside of it. So you save like $2,700 a month as a tech stack just using them. Highly recommend them. I like them a lot. I don't get paid by them. I'm actually trying to. Like I'm trying to hit these guys. I'm like, we use all your stuff. Like pay us. And so that takes it to a sales guy that reads everything, sees if it's a fit. If it's not a fit, there's logic that takes you out and says, you're not a fit for this. Buy this for $2,000 or maybe join one of our smaller events. And if you're not a fit at all, like we just say if you're not even starting, like it kicks you out and says, hey, good luck with your life.
And what's the current price point for?
So we have a few tiers now. The main one is $35,000. And it is a year-long product, right? Where we basically give you 3 events a year, like you would a normal mastermind. You also get 4 fly-in Fridays a year, which is once a quarter. You get to fly down to our office and work individually with our team on any products or process or issue that you may have. And then we do once you join, we do an onboarding call. We help you set up your yearly goals and break down into quarterly sessions, and then break that down into what you need to do with particularly what you're working on today. We help you hire your ad agency, fire your ad agency. You can get on a call with us within 24 to 48 hours. It's a full consulting gig.
Got it. So let me back out of what the product delivery and talk about the launch. So you have a structured video sales letter that you do, VSL, and it pushes to, and technically you've got a good process, and it pushes to a sales team to handle the calls,
right,
and assess the calls and either try to close them or push them somewhere else, push them to buy something lower, right, lower ticket. Where are you getting exposure for it?
Through content on Instagram and driving people to DM us so they can see the page.
And for clarity, 2 years ago, your Instagram had 4,000 followers?
No, my Instagram had like
3 years ago?
3 years ago, it probably had like 100.
I have known you before it had.
Oh, well, I got I got one account stolen.
Oh, really?
So I had to start a new account.
Okay, well, so great. So you went from a nothing account. That was the point there.
Yes, I went from a nothing account.
You're like, fuck you, my Insta numbers are great.
and I grew it. I learned the algorithm, and then I learned that you can buy shout outs through big pages that are similar in the avatar that they follow. Meme pages, so to speak, right? Giveaways don't work because you're giving away Louis Vuitton bags and phones and weird stuff to children, and
it's not your
people,
avatar.
And it's not who I want.
People that are attracted to the giveaway are not the people that you want.
No, that's just a number to bump up your numbers to look cool beans. Like I don't care about that. My Instagram is mathematical. It's about making me money, right? And so we used Instagram organically, and then we bought shout outs. When we received that revenue, we then started running ads, and we ran ads primarily on Instagram again. and on Facebook. And that is still our number one acquisition strategy. The second acquisition strategy that we have is we do these things called previews. I have about a 4,000 square foot office in Orlando. It's really cool looking. And so a lot of people like it. And so we do about 40, 50 people we can fit there. And so we'll do a preview. When people come in, we're like, hey, just so you know, you're here because this is a preview of what it looks like to be in Powerhouse. We're going to address these topics today. In the middle of the day, I make a pitch. We hand out, yes, interested, not interested, or want more information. And then we bring people in into one of my offices and talk to them there. And then we sell people through that. What we're doing today.
Hold on, before you get to where we're doing today, I want to dig into that a little bit further because the preview model. So, roughly.
The preview model is free for real estate. So I call it preview, but you are paying us to come in. I want committed people.
So I want to dig into that in a second. But before because there is.
I just want to say the specificity of that because a lot of times when I say preview, we're like, oh, so you just bring people in the office for free? No, they pay us $1,500 to come in. Okay.
Fine. Let's talk about previews first. We'll get back to Instagram. So the preview model we have 12 to 15% of our audience of Easy Pay Direct's internal client base, which is hundreds or thousands of people, right? Of companies, are selling information. So it is the largest segment inside of Easy Pay Direct in terms of a client base, and they're selling information. And inside that chunk are a ton of people selling real estate information. Hey, this is how you invest in real estate. And there's a large reason for that, but the long and short is that preview model or a preview model is a big part of specifically the real estate info model, but educational information models in general. And generally speaking, what you took issue with just now was that people do free events to get people in the room. And as a result, the people that get in the room are not that qualified because they're free events.
In real estate, how it works is you do a free event to a cheap event. And by cheap, I mean like 97 to another $500. And then you take them to a $2,000 event to take them to a $25,000 event. That seems like you hate yourself and sociopathic tendencies.
Okay, so hold on.
It works.
Let me intervene there a little bit because the mega real estate companies, by the way, most of which are no longer existing.
I worked with Zurich's.
Post-COVID, yes. Likewise. Wouldn't necessarily do the free. They might do a $97 upfront and upsell to a $2,000, right? But the notion of it is the same, which is you try to get a low ticket item where a bunch of people get in the room. It's a human funnel. It's a human funnel. You get a bunch of people in the room at a low ticket price. And if you have a little price point, some price point, it commits them to being there, right? So there's some commitment. And then from there, you upsell to something bigger. And so same model, different price points. And because you were saying the preview had 1,500 in your model, you had much more qualified people in the room.
You still had to qualify by telling us how much your business was making as well.
To get we double preview.
Yeah, if you're doing like, hey, this is a great idea. I'm in construction and I just want to get out. I have $10,000 to give you. You're not a fit.
Right.
We will not take you on.
Right. And also for clarity, like when the big real estate companies, when I say big, I'm talking companies that are doing like
100 million.
100 million a year, 150 million a year. And
not anymore, but yes.
Right. But were pre-COVID. And they were getting, hundreds or 1,000, 2,000 people in a room for these previews.
I ran those ads.
Yeah. And so you're talking all you want is 40 in the room.
Right.
Right. Got it. Are you pre-qualifying the people on the phone or otherwise before they get to the preview event?
You have to pay. We have a $1,500. We have a sales page, and you pay $1,500. When you pay, you fill out a form to get on a call to see how we can best help you. If we cannot help you and you lied, because we'll know on the call, we will refund your money. We don't want you to come.
Right, because it's really a qualifier.
It's not going to help either one of us.
Previous, yeah, got it.
We're not going to pitch you anything. You're not going to get anything because you aren't. We don't work with beginners.
Got it. All right, so let me back out. So that's the end of the funnel, right? Preview event into, hey, are you good for the group or not? And if you aren't, the preview event itself is enough value where people leave and they're like, that was great for $1,500, right? And part of that is just, hey, here's a bunch of content. If you want us to help further, and if you want more, and if you want the connection, the community, and the rest of the USP of the Powerhouse group, then you can buy the $35,000 a year.
Oftentimes too, when you come to a preview and you don't want to join, you're like, oh, I'm doing my thing, but man, you guys should run my ads. We can also get, we're pretty vertically integrated.
So before you even get there, you said something about, the ads on Instagram, and you said, hey, we figured out how to build the brands with aligned shout outs, which makes lots of sense, right? So you're looking at brands, people, pages that have huge followings, and their followings are your target market. Right. And so you're getting them the shout out. The idea of the shout out is you're paying them to say, hey, promote our stuff and endorse Lowe's Hustle or Josh Snow or Powerhouse Brands. Promote us. And that promotion gains followers for you, which gets eyes on you.
And then your page does the rest of the work.
Where I wanted clarity was, you said, and as that was going, you started running ads to them. And now your ads are, that and the ads are driving things. What do the ads look like? And are the ads just to fuel more followers, or are they ads specifically for the offer?
The ads are straight to the offer. We still do the Instagram thing with pages, and that's a different style of, that's content. That's not an ad. The ads today look like they're very direct to the person. Hey, if you're XYZ and you're doing XYZ, I can help you right here. Click this link. We're also testing TikTok style stuff, which there's an ad that you probably will see now. Especially if you click this, I'm going to retarget you. That is me talking to myself. And so it's me being like, hey man, how's your business going? And other me is saying, explaining. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, do you know that we can help you do this? I didn't know that, blah, blah. And so it's because if you see TikTok, like a lot of that converts pretty well. That's converting very well for us. And right now we're talking a traffic and conversion, and I'm going to shoot an ad in my hotel, walking around saying, hey, I'm over here, buy this Ferrari that we rented for our brokerage. But if you want to talk about growing your business so you can sell it, I'm in here, and we're going to do a geo-targeted ad to a specific section of where we're at, so everybody here can see me, so I can be on top of mind. Is it going to convert? Don't know, but everyone's going to see my face.
If they're on.
They're going to be on.
Yeah. Well, the ones that are on, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's like 5,000 people here. They'll see our ad.
Yeah.
Because everyone's on their phone and their computer's still working.
Yeah, that's true.
So what it is today,
yes,
we have 4 funnels that we're doing. One funnel is still the direct funnel. We've changed the language to make it more for everybody, because the first one started with e-commerce, but it's a video sales letter with application and some copy.
And just to be clear, are you going straight to the 35,000, or are you going to a preview event?
So we have 4 funnels.
Got it. So you both.
For the rest of the year, we will not be doing more previews. So the funnels that we have today are the long form one. We have a training one on how to build a systemized, scalable business. We're calling it the optimized business, because there's another guy that has a thing called self-managed business. And so in this training, I explain how self-managed doesn't mean it's going to keep growing. It's just being managed. I was able to take 6 out of 8 weeks off in this year, and all my businesses made more money. Did they ball out? No, but they made more money. 6 out of 8 weeks, because I was with my kids and I got pictures and the whole thing. So it's a 25-minute presentation on what you need marketing, operationally, and finance to go through it. It's a little bit more of an educational funnel done by me that explains everything, because I'm talking to more of a seasoned guy, right? Then we have another one with my head of media in Powerhouse, Malby, who explains a similar concept on what is working for you to scale your e-commerce business today. The pages, the average order values, the bundles that we're using, and we're seeing in the results from all of our group, right? Because we have a lot of those. And then the last one is we're launching something called Powerhouse Letters, which is basically me speaking. You get the first one, 17 pages. We send them to your house. It's going to be probably about 6 pages every time. The first one, I just had a lot to say. But it's $47, and you can get them digitally, but we will also mail them over to your house, and you get to read what we're up to, how we're thinking through business, what's happening with our companies, how we're hiring, what struggles, non-struggles, how that applies to you and your business as well. Because with that funnel, I want people to get to know who we are, to get to understand us. And I read a few people's newsletters like that, like in my house, and I love it. And they're very close friends of mine, so I don't buy their stuff. But if they weren't, it's the fastest way to like, I know who you are, bro. Like I'm taking an order at that point. And so with these 4 funnels running through social media, meaning Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube is where we're focused right now. We plan on expanding significantly from the end of the year to 2023.
All right. So last question here is, with this is, you have 4 funnels. You have pretty significant organic social following. I'll call it organic for the sake of this, right? But what's your Insta count at right now?
368,000.
Great. I thought you were going to give me the exact number. You're like, I looked an hour ago. I know exactly what it is.
No, that is the exact number.
So 368,000. So those 4 funnels, do you create social content that drives specifically to those funnels, or are those all only paid?
Only paid. So the content that I'm creating right now is heavy on like what I call like kind of grown up business, less like, if you want to make $10,000 a month, it's more like, hey, this is how Chucky from Powerhouse is selling his business. And this is the framework we used. And this is what we're seeing here. And like more kind of like specific to seasoned entrepreneurs through this. These are the 3 funnels that we're using right now that are working in high ticket. These are the funnels that we're seeing having great success in e-commerce. This is how we are taking companies from 12% email marketing to 48% and increasing their lifetime value. And this
Tactical
is what we're measuring it. Yeah, tactical, more for the dorky seasoned guy that's like, oh, that's what I care about.
I feel like
that's who I need in my life.
Do you feel like if you used the voice from the first one, you would still get the dorky people that were into the bigger businesses?
No.
No, you don't think so? I think you should do it anyway. You should split test it.
The video that I'm talking to myself, that other guy, that other version of me talks like a dork. Yeah, really do. Yeah. Gotta make it fun. I think I'm gonna do more of those because those hit. They have no context and they don't make sense because like I shot it and I was like, this is stupid, but it's comical, so people like it.
Well, that's actually like a big part of the question around, I mean, that was embedded into the question of, do you produce social content to drive directly to the ads? Because it's a question of what you put on social and why, and how deliberate you are and how you think about it. And the, sort of like the silly nonsense, you don't always get, specifically if your social is there just to drive to a funnel.
So I am creating silly social content. Like I'm taste testing tequila. I'm taste testing energy drinks. I'm taste testing hamburgers in the office, and we're calling that segment like office humor. I'm also doing a lot of Q&As. There's this app called NGL on iPhone, and you can send you can say, hey, you can send me anonymous questions, and a lot of people send anonymous questions. There's also an app on organic to Instagram, native, that you can do the same, but you see the question, who asked it, and those don't get near, I probably get 20 of those. I get 80 of the other ones because it's anonymous. So I've been saying, hey, give me a question and I will answer it specifically on a video and it can be anonymous. And so we're calling that segment, like it's basically Rosen or someone sitting here, myself sitting here. Hey, someone asked, because I don't know who it is. Someone asked this, and I explain it to them in detail, and we call that business bars, right? And so we're creating like little micro shows, so I can have an output of like our goal is to do 6 videos a day on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and 3 long ones on YouTube a week. And a day on the other ones, 3 on YouTube, and 6 on the other ones daily. We're at like 3 right now.
It's wild.
I'm getting 100,000 views a day, almost 60 to 100, depending on the video. Sometimes, when I say controversial stuff or whatever, you can get more. But when I just do normal stuff, I'm probably getting about 60,000 views from the 3 videos a day.
And do you think that if you were more attractive, you get more views?
If I was more attractive, I don't know how I could do that. But
awesome. Los, I appreciate you hanging out, man. It's always good hanging out and talking.
Every time, man.
We will certainly have more conversations, potentially record them.
Potentially.
And in the meantime, let's go enjoy the rest of the event.
Love you, brother.
You too, man.